All right, good morning, everybody. We are ready to start our December 17 CBLS meeting, the first one of our new fiscal year. Welcome, everybody. Just to remember, there will be voting procedures that we're going to be following to make sure that we get the seconds and who made the motion, who seconded the motions, so that it is clear on the record. And for those of you, when you're not speaking, if you can put your phones and computers on mute, that will help make for a obviously clearer record. Let's see, with that, shall we go into roll call, Adrian?
You got it. Acosta,
Present.
Hammerschmidt,
Present.
Lester,
Present.
Levy, Vance,
Here.
and Yoon is not in attendance.
All right. Our best to Jake, and hopefully he can make it for our next meeting. Just remember, Zoom meetings like a regular meeting, as if we were in person. It's going to be recorded and will be archived on the State Bar's website. The CBLS will take items on the agenda in the order in which they appear, and votes again will be taken by roll call. At this point, I think next up is our call for public comment. Do we have anybody on the line?
Yes, I do see one person.
Great. Well, then we'll go through the particulars. We'll be taking public comment today, and comment from those in attendance. For those who are attending via Zoom, you'll have a function for virtually raising your hand. If you wish to make public comment, please use that raise the hand function. For those of you who are participating by phone, you may virtually raise your hand by pressing *9. That's the star key and then the number 9. Doing so will alert us that you would like to make a comment. Staff will call members of the public in the order that their virtual hands appear. We ask you to limit your comments to 3 minutes. You'll be notified when you have 30 seconds left to conclude your comments. At 3 minutes, we will turn off your microphone and call the next member of the public. So are there any members of the public who wish to comment on any topic on the agenda?
All right, I do see one member of the public, Maria Tai. I'm going to go ahead and allow you to speak.
Good morning, Ms. Tai.
It looks like she has not been unmuted.
Oh, right.
Oh,
See,
let me ask her to unmute. So.
still on mute.
All right. If okay, Maria, if you would like to provide a comment, if you can raise your hand. If not, I'm going to go ahead and skip you. There is one other member of the public present. I'm showing a Y. Jennifer Lee. Let me see. Ms. Lee.
Right. Okay. Good morning, Ms. Lee. Does Ms. Lee have a comment?
No, I'm just attending. Thank you.
Okay. Well, welcome. Are we going to try and wait for Maria to make her comment, or are we going to be able to move on, Adrian?
I don't see a hand raised.
Okay.
I think
So maybe just monitoring.
You got it.
All right. I guess we move into the consent portion, and that would be the approval of the September 10, 2021 California Board of Legal Specialization public meeting minutes. If our members would take the time to review those quickly. And members who were not present at that September 10 meeting are not eligible to vote, but I believe everybody was present.
This is Natalie Vance. I vote to, or make a motion to approve the September 10th, 2021 public meeting minutes.
Excellent. So Natalie has made the motion. Do we have a second?
Seconded.
Second by Jeffrey Hammerschmidt. Adrian, if you would call the roll, please.
Of course. Acosta,
Yes.
Hammerschmidt,
Yes.
Lester,
Yes?
Levy, Levy,
Yeah.
thank you. Vance,
Yes.
that's enough votes. Minutes accepted.
Okay. Next up, we have staff reports. Item A on our agenda is going to be the update on the 2021-2022 CBLS appointments. Adrian, you're up.
Of course. Just a quick update. So the CBLS, we do have one current vacancy. We are working on getting the previously recommended alternate appointed at the next Board of Trustees meeting. That alternate, he's a bankruptcy specialist. He also practices in estate planning and tax, and he's from San Jose. So more news to come. I believe that we'll have a further update at the next CBLS meeting.
All right. Excellent. Next item on our list is the update on the 2021-2022 CBLS meeting schedule. Back to you, Adrian.
Yep, you got it. I'll go ahead and send these dates to everyone after today's meeting. But for 2022, we will be holding meetings on March 18th, June 10th, September 16th, and December 9th. And we may be calling for a special meeting in February regarding our work plan. I'll give a little bit more information regarding that when we get to that item.
Can you give the dates again?
Of course. March 18, June 10, September 16, and 12/9. These are tentative dates, but if you could all put them down, once again, I'll send them to everyone after today's meeting. But if you can put them down and hold them for our CBLS schedule.
Okay. Next up, we have recent developments, and Audrey, if you could take the lead.
Of course. Good morning, everyone. I just wanted to update you on a few other Office of Admissions developments. Last Friday, we released the results for the October first year exam. That was another remote exam. It was parallel time-wise as the legal specialist exam, which was in October as well. And we are moving forward with the February bar exam in person. On last Friday as well, our Board of Trustees voted to approve our vaccine or negative COVID test requirements. So we're doing a lot of COVID protocols at the exam, as you might expect, and now including asking for a proof of vaccination or a negative COVID test in order to enter the exam. So keeping our eye on that, of course. And those were the two recent developments I wanted to give you this morning.
Okay, thank you, Audrey. I think with that, we move into item number 4 on our agenda. That's the business. We start with A, it's our review of report on financial and operational key indicators. Audrey, we go back to you.
Back to me. So if you've clicked through on the agenda, you can see attachment A, the Q2 2021 financial report. It's a pretty long document, but you can scroll. The legal specialization budget is on page 14. So we actually were ahead, about 9% ahead of revenue versus what we budgeted, we expected. But you can see our expenses look way under budget, but we have a lot of end of the year expenses. So we have the exam development expenses, grading, consultants, exam administration, a lot of costs still left to pay the last few months of the year from the exam. So we are budgeted for an overall net decrease of 338,726. So 338,726. That is what we're budgeting to be down. So that's the first attachment on our financials. If you go through to attachment B with a number of specialists, year over year, we're down 31 specialists. Only one area, family law, saw an increase of 12 specialists. We were status quo, estate, franchise, and immigration, and then all the other areas saw decreases. Taxation and workers' comp saw the largest decrease. Both of those were double-digit decreases, 10 and 14 specialists down, respectively. Moving to attachment C, resignations. As of December 1st, we had 149 resignations. Roughly half of those were due to retirement, about 66, 17 saying they can't meet the tasks and experience, 24 saying they had a practice change, 6 were complaining about the fees, and then 36, so a large proportion, just had other reasons for resigning. We're of course looking with this kind of forecast to more resignations, but based on current trends, 21 should be within the same ballpark of 2020 and 2019, where we saw 136 resignations and then 160 resignations respectively. Moving on to attachment D, we're looking at the education compliance for group 2. As you know, through our meetings this year, we had group 2 compliance reporting ending on February 1st, but we extended that to June 30th. Around 1,400 specialists are in group 2. We still have 119 pending. On the agenda today is an item recommending annual revocations as part of our open session item. So we will have that later in the agenda. And then the last attachment is education compliance for group 1. That just ended reporting on December 1st and due on February 1st. There's 1,764 specialists in group 1, and we will be sending our communications out and reminders to the specialists about that compliance coming due. So those were all the key indicators I was going to go over. Back to you, Mark.
Okay, thank you, Audrey. Next up on our agenda, item B, and that's the review of report on initial certification application statuses. Latrell, you're up.
Thank you, Mark. So in order to receive certification, applicants must first take and pass the legal specialist examination. Then they are eligible to submit their post-examination application for initial certification. Those who passed the 2019 examination had up to April 2021 to file an application or request an extension, attachment B. There were 382 passers, 68.8% filed an application, 263 applications submitted. Estate and family received most applications for 2019 passers, 157 for both. Of the remaining candidates, 119, 43 have requested an extension. Applicants may request an extension of time through January 2023, and the most common reason for extension is to reach the 5-year practice requirement.
Okay. Thanks, Latrell. Next up, item C on our agenda. That's going to be the review of report on administration of the 2021 legal specialist examination. Janice, I think that's up for you.
Yes. The exam was held largely remotely on Tuesday, October 26th. Testing accommodations and extended day applicants tested through Wednesday, October 27th. There were a few changes because of the remote exam. Essays were administered over 4 one-hour sittings with 2 essay questions for each hour. Multiple choice questions were administered at 38 questions over 76 minutes and 37 questions over 74 minutes. We received a total of 589 registrations. There were 90 withdrawals, 42 no-shows, and 1 partial. 456 applicants sat for the entire exam, and there was at least 1 in each specialty area. 7 applicants tested in person. Those applicants either had a testing, accommodation, or an extenuating circumstance. There were 3 in San Francisco and 4 in Los Angeles. There were a few issues reported: power outage, laptop software crash, camera issues, book issues, and a fire alarm. Also to be considered at a future meeting, 1 applicant has submitted a request for a special accommodation of grading or a retake prior to the 2023 administration due to technical difficulties and related anxiety.
Okay. Thank you, Janice. Item D on our agenda is going to be the approval of certification revocations for failure to recertify. Adrian, can you give us that update?
Of course. So for this item, specialists, they are required to report compliance of the ongoing task and experience and reference requirements by recertifying every 5 years. Reminders are automatically sent through the applicant portal email system. And staff, we also send 30-day late reminders through the State Bar email service, and then a 60-day final late notice through the State Bar email service again, and then also a physical letter. We currently have 68 specialists pending recertification through September 1st. So that means that they are 90 days over, at least, sorry. The table on the agenda, it provides a breakdown of those specialists by specialty area. So all of these pending specialists, they are specifically listed on attachment A. They have received the final email and physical letter. That's the 60 days notice, and they've been given at least 30 days to respond. Consistent with past action, to send notice of revocation. Staff, if it is approved, staff, we will send paper and electronic notice through the State Bar email service again. Does anyone have any questions?
Avi, you've got a question.
Yeah, so I know in the past we've had some issues with making sure people got these notices. And just looking at the people that I recognize in the family law specialty, I mean, these people are not, the ones that I recognize are not retired, very active attorneys. One of them is on FlexCom. The other one is in the American Academy of Matrimonial Lawyers. You have to be a specialist to be in that organization, or a fellow in that organization. So I can't imagine, I mean, obviously there's people I don't recognize their names, but I can't imagine that these people would just kind of let it go. In particular, I know that one of them or 2 of them are very involved in putting on continuing education for other family law attorneys. So it's not somebody that's like not involved with these kinds of things, if you will. I find it very hard to believe that the attorneys that I recognize on the list would just ignore something, which makes me have the continued concern that somehow it's going into their spam, or maybe, I don't know what's happening. But I know this has been an issue in the past, and I'm not sure what we have to keep doing. And I know that in the past we've made phone calls. I think last year, I think I personally emailed, I think, everybody on the family law specialty list that was on the various lists that were going to get revoked. And that was very successful in getting a lot of people to do what they need to do or reminding them. But I continue to be concerned, but I don't know how to fix it.
I hear you. I mean, I've spent enormous hours of time sending emails, and my individual emails have always been responded to. Some of them, in most of them, I think, just anecdotally, probably 80% of them said they hadn't gotten a notice. My email was the first one that had reached them. I don't know what to do. I'm somewhat frustrated. I know we got a process. I know we published the rules. Everybody's supposed to kind of look out for themselves as well, but I don't know. I'm at a loss.
I emailed a prosecutor here in Fresno that I have a couple of cases with that is on the list for not having paid the dues. And he responded within an hour stating that he thought his office paid the dues. They only pay the bar dues, not the specialist dues. And that he has called and emailed and is trying to pay. So I know here in Fresno, we've got about 40 criminal law specialists that are either public defenders or DAs. Most of them haven't had that issue. They realize they had to pay it, but he said he's going to pay. So maybe we should table these until the next meeting and try to do what we did last time and contact some of these people.
Well, and this is just the issue. I mean, that's the fee issue, which we
Right.
have troubles with. We also have troubles with the failure to recertify, which you're supposed to do every 5 years. And then I know we try and reach out to them, and then we get down to a list like this. And, thank goodness we are spread across the various certifications. So we have a lot of experiences with many of the names on here, but of course, not all of them. Do we need to have a process where we as members take this list and send an email? So it's not considered spam. It gets by all the filters that otherwise are trying to, keep letters out. I don't know what.
Of course. If it's okay, we do have an item later. We'll be discussing or giving you an update on our proposed communication schedule for all the requirements. But as a reminder specific to this item for the recertification, so we do send reminders. It's electronic. They do get sent 6 months prior to their certification end date, 60 days prior, 30 days prior, 7 days after their certification end date. And then earlier this year, through discussion and recommendation of the CBLS, we did update that so that staff, we do manually send, once again, electronic, but using the different email service, and then 60 days after, and then also adding that physical letter, just to make sure that we're touching, that we're, I guess, trying all methods to contact them. So.
Okay.
Well, sorry.
Go. Yeah.
I just wanted to say that, I think the frustration is like on both ends. I think, the staff have really been committed to trying to address this by looking into, methods for avoiding like spam filters. I think one of the reasons that some of the specialists on this committee are successfully contacting folks is because the filter may not exist if you've ever had contact with some of the folks. So the question is like, how can we replicate that? And that's challenging. But as Adrian suggested, once we get into that agenda item, we'll get into that communication. And I'm not sure, I don't want to take this out of order, but one thing we could do is talk about the communication plan agenda item, take this agenda item out of order, and then come back to this. Because I really think it's a great idea for all of us to put our heads together, because we're definitely committed to avoiding this and avoiding these communication gaps. And perhaps by looking at that agenda item, then we can come back and reevaluate these, because it's going to come up in compliance with also the education. These are very agenda items that are on every agenda. But I think getting into what the right approach should be is probably relevant at this point.
Okay, Adrian, can we do that? Can I just go to, that's item, where is that?
For I.
Item I, okay. So if nobody's got an objection, why don't we go down to item I and then we'll come back to D and complete the rest of the agenda. Item I is a review of the report of legal specialization communications and update on new communication schedule. So Adrian, why don't we take it away and we can have our discussion.
You got it. So for item I, review report on legal specialization communications and a update on our new communication schedule. If okay, just as a general reminder, so in order for specialists to maintain their certification, they must continually meet 3 requirements, which are on 3 different schedules. First, they have to pay the $360 legal specialization program annual fee. That's every year, billed on each specialist's annual fee statement. Second, they have to report compliance of the ongoing legal specialist CLE requirement. That's by completing 36 hours of LS CLE every 3 years, due at the same time as their general MCLE compliance dates. And then third, remain on active status with the state bar and report compliance of the ongoing task and experience and reference requirements by recertifying and submitting an application for recertification, along with a separate from the annual fee, a $350 recertification processing fee. Then if any requirement is not met, certification may lapse regardless of their term end date. And then although we do send reminders, we do try to send reminders, by state bar rule, it is the specialist's obligation to calendar and meet those deadlines for each of those requirements. So regarding our annual fee and the LSCLE communications, what we were doing previously, we would send an electronic notification to specialists when annual fee billing and the LSCLE compliance opens. We would send an electronic notification 30 days before an original deadline, 7 days after the original deadline, and then we would do it again 30 days before an extended deadline, and then electronic notification and physical letter 30 days before a CBLS meeting where recommendation of revocation would occur. And then we would send a final electronic notification and physical letter again of revocation 7 days after the CBLS meeting where that was discussed. For our recertification, once again, this was updated earlier this year. So we do send electronic notifications 6 months prior to their end date, 60 days prior, 30 days prior, and then 7 days after their certification end date. And then we added electronic notification 30 days after, and then electronic notification and physical letter 60 days after. And then there would be a final electronic and physical letter again, 7 days after a CBLS meeting where revocation was discussed. If okay, as a point of reference, the state bar, they electronically send separate monthly reminders to all licensees once general annual fee billing and MCLE compliance reporting begin. This would continue for each item until either is met or until administrative action is taken on the licensee status. I did hear that they also have licensees who state that they never received the notices, whether it's going to the spam. I can't say for sure, but they do have like the licensees who do also say that they do not receive those notices. Similar to the monthly reminders for annual fee billing and MCLE compliance, our proposal is that we will also now be sending electronic monthly reminders, each for the annual fee and for the LSCLE. This would continue until the item is made current or until action is taken on the certification status. And we'll also still follow the electronic and physical letter 30 days before a CBLS meeting for recommendation of revocation, and then 7 days after any decision is made. And then also to help with this, staff, we also plan to send out quarterly emails to all specialists beginning next year. Subjects would include just general certification maintenance requirements, how to log in and navigate through the applicant portal. Specialists, they actually have access to their current certification terms, when their LSCLE compliance is due, if they still owe a balance towards the legal specialization annual fee. Though that wasn't previously readily available to applicants, but with the applicant portal, it is accessible by all specialists. So we do want to, I guess, provide them with the information on how to access that and how to view it. I think one thing that I also forgot to mention is for the general annual fee billing and the MCLE compliance, I did not hear that they received calls from the state bar just to remind them or to let them know. So that's not, I guess, a typical method of communication for them for those requirements. Any questions? Immediate thoughts? I apologize, that was a lot.
So is this something that we've already implemented, or is this something that we're working on implementing and starts next year or whatever?
This is something that we're planning to start. We haven't gone a month since annual fee billing or LSCLE compliance has started, but we did send that first notification, and we've calendared our reminders, so that we will start sending those monthly reminders beginning next month. So in a couple of weeks, they'll get that first monthly reminder, and then they'll get another one in February and March and so forth.
So on the legal specialization, I mean, I know when I go to the state bar website, I can find my regular profile. Is there a separate one now for specialization?
It is. It's the applicant portal. So, and you're right. A lot of the specialists, I guess maybe they weren't aware or they didn't know that that was available to them. Specialists, they are not required to use the portal. When they recertify, when they send in their LSCLE, they can do so with a physical compliance card or physical application. So I think that's one of the ideas behind the quarterly emails is just providing that information, letting them know how to do it, and giving them their credentials. Because the credentials to get into the applicant portal, it is separate from the general My State Bar profile login credentials. So
You've got now almost 40 years worth of specialists you have to retrain as to how to think and communicate with you. So, okay.
Well, what about like an introductory, given that this will be a new process, an introductory email that differentiates the two login methods, right? What that differentiates between the state bar portal, right, where their fees are paid, and then what what the AIM system, the applicant portal, what function that and purpose that serves. Just as we introduce the idea of this the quarterly email and to provide this information, because the other concern is, and then that might be a way of also ensuring that we have the correct emailer, because I think that's where there's a little bit of disconnect, is using the correct email. And then also the gap exists with people who assume that their staff, are paying for both of the dues, and they could share this email with that person as well. So just a thought that might address what you raised, Mark.
Well, it's something as simple as I'm over here on the state bar website over to attorneys. And so you get down to the quick links, and maybe that's where you have a quick link for specialists or something, so they know where to start to look, as opposed to have to keep honing down to figure out where to go. Sometimes we're not bright. So.
I have something to add. I just paid my bar dues, and part of it, you pay your specialization dues. I'm assuming that's the specialization dues that people although their active attorneys, I guess, are opting not to pay, and that's why they're on the revocation list. Which, okay, if that's what they want to do, that's fine. But I'm getting, so I got confusing information from the bar because it said if I'm a firm and I'm paying my firm's dues in one payment, that it does not include the payment of legal specialist dues, and that I would then have to pay those separately. But that's not what happened, because I paid, you know, $4,000 something. It included the specialist fees for me and another person in my firm who are specialists. And now I'm totally confused because it says that it doesn't include, but I paid it. So is there like another fee I have to pay? And I'm on the board. So it's like, if I can't get it, nobody is gonna, like, not to say that I'm, you know, I'm saying I'm on the board of legal specialization and I'm completely confused on how to make sure I pay the fees. And paying the fees, I think, is the easiest part of it. I mean, you would think it's in everybody's, in the program and in the state bar's interest to actually get paid, right? So that should be the easiest part of this. I don't know if anything that you guys just said kind of helped that. I don't know. I just think this is, I think we can do better.
And Avi, I agree. And so one of the things perhaps that we could do is I talked about like maybe this introductory email into the explaining the method for accessing, you know, state bar, like, I guess, profile or systems between the payment and then also between payment compliance and then also the applicant portal to get information about your legal specs application. We can also perhaps add within that instructions for the payment to provide that clarity, you know, the logistical steps to compliance with payment and also with the payment and educational requirements, like how to report those if you want to do that systematically. Because as Adrian has pointed out, the way we get it now is we can get the hard copy and staff normally or prepare that into the system. But if somebody wants to evaluate that, there would be instructions on how to do that. We could provide those.
If okay, I will note, I think it was after the last meeting where the annual fee revocations were continued. Staff, we were able to come up with we were able to create a manual that we've shared with those pending specialists so that they can calculate any fee owed. I know I believe Mark and Natalie have seen that. It seems it seemed to work. It was successful. We got that number down, and we'll share that as part of that item. Maybe as part of that introductory email that Amy was mentioning, we could definitely include that. Maybe for reference, if a specialist or a licensee is paying their annual fees on their own through their My State Bar profile, if they're paying online, they're required to pay for the specialization fee at that time. That's not an optional fee where they can drop. If they wanted to, if for whatever reason they wanted to drop the specialization fee, they would have to print out their annual fee statement and invoice, and then they would have to submit payment by check. I think where the disconnect is for agency billing, maybe their administrators don't know or weren't aware that the specialization fee was also required. At that point, it is an optional fee from that end. So, but once again, if an individual or a licensee is paying for their specialist fee on their own through their My State Bar profile, it is required. They can't make multiple payments. They just have to pay for all or none.
Okay.
Yeah.
So where does this leave us?
You know, I feel like a broken record, but this should be like not even a high school. A person in high school should. You shouldn't even need a high school education to like comply with these things. It should be something that is so easy. You know, click, 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 punch in your credit card, pay, done. And I mean, I don't know, this seems like a systemic problem. I don't know if I'm using the word right. I don't know why it's a problem to begin with. I think we need to just throw away and start over.
So if I may, I don't know several of you on this call. My name is Donna Hershkowitz. I'm the Chief of Programs here at the bar. I think, Avi, you pointed out some confusion that really should be cleaned up with the licensee in the agency billing. Sounds like there is a wording problem there that doesn't exactly reflect the way Adrian described the process and how you can pay, but don't necessarily have to pay the legal specialization fees if you're paying through agency billing. So that's obviously an important piece of information for us to have, and we can absolutely clean that up. However, I mean, I do want to acknowledge that there is an obligation on all lawyers to provide the state bar with an email address that is intended for the state bar to be able to contact lawyers, and they are required to keep that information updated. We can certainly send a reminder of that. Overall, I don't think the the annual fee statement is that complex. There are a lot of sort of click the boxes. I think we can always improve, and having someone sort of walk through and point us to, this is confusing here for specialists. This doesn't provide the information that we need, is important feedback, and we'll take that back and see what we can do on that. But I don't think there's a sort of a fundamental flaw in the billing process. And it really does sound like, Adrian makes quite a number of efforts, including using sort of the main email system as well as other email options to try and reach out to individual attorneys. As Amy said, it's just not, it's not our practice and wouldn't be feasible for staff to pick up the phone and call every specialist who we haven't heard from, who has chosen not to, or has not, for one reason or another, paid their annual fees or their certification fees.
I disagree. I think we can do better. I think that it is or should be incumbent upon staff to call people. These people who are specialists are the creme de la creme of attorneys in the state of California. These are not stupid people. There's a gap here in terms of communication. That gap, I think the board or the program has to take responsibility for at least 50% of that problem. I think, I've always heard the excuse of, it's incumbent upon the specialists themselves to be aware of the deadlines or whatever it is. But you know what? I don't have a calendar that goes, 5 years from now to remind me that, I'm going to have to recertify in 5 years. The only time I'm aware of that is when I get a letter from the program saying it's time for you to recertify. Or in my case, and I'm on the board, I recently got a letter saying your certification is going to be revoked because you should have certified, 6 months ago or 3 months ago, and I'm on the board. So there's a problem. So when I hear it's incumbent upon the specialist to be aware of the deadlines, I'm on the board. I'm aware of the deadlines. And again, just to repeat, these are some of the smartest lawyers in California. Again, I know I don't know what the solution is, but I just know we have to do better.
Okay,
And sorry, and I do think, because what we did a year ago or 2 years ago, when I first started on the board, is instead of the staff, sorry, and I'm not meaning to be disrespectful, but instead of the staff taking their time and they get paid to run this program and to call all these specialists who are about to get revoked, us volunteers, the 6 or 7 of us on this, who vote, it was upon us to take our time to call everybody on the list. And what happened? It was a very successful project that we all engaged in. And so if the staff doesn't want to do it, even though I think it's part of the job duty, or should be, to call all these people and say, hey, you know what? We've sent you letters, we've sent you emails. Now we've also called you. If that were the case, and I'm voting on the motion to revoke these people's certification after you actually called them too, now I'm very comfortable with that.
I got the same letter you got on the MCLE. One of the things, especially in a decent sized firm, is there's somebody who's writing the checks and doing the billing. What about sending a letter, physical letter with a bill? I mean, if that happened in my firm, that check would get written and it would be brought in for me to sign. If that would have happened, I wouldn't have got to the point where I got a letter saying I'm about to be revoked, even though I'm on the board.
Well, and I think this is that's the challenge that I was referring to earlier. So there's the challenge of making sure we have, we got a hold of the right person, right? And we talked about how we're trying to avoid that with email and then also the physical letter. But then, how we would need to be notified that someone, whoever in your law firm is responsible for this, is a person that we need to be contacting, if that's the case, right? Like now we're not dealing with the specialist, we have to be referred to this alternative, person that's going to help with compliance, whether it's a payment or providing the MCLE, if that's what they're tracking at the firm.
I think it's more just the effectiveness of the overall communication, whether it's a letter to the attorney or whether it's an email to the attorney, that somehow if we send an email on our own, we're getting through in such a way that the method of communication seems to be more effective. And maybe it can still come from the state bar, but there's you can use something similar to the email that I crafted that I then just replicated, multiple times. So, but because it was sent individually, I was getting through to that attorney. So it's not something that can be done, it seems like en masse, but it can be replicated. It doesn't take all that long, but somehow it breaks through and it's not treated and lost in email and other communications. I think that's the problem that I'm sensing.
Thought of a solution. From my understanding, we have a huge amount of money that this program needs to spend down. I think we can use some of that money, pay somebody, a high school student or a college student who wants to work for the state bar, $20, $25 an hour, or whatever the going rate is in San Francisco. And their job is to do this.
Well, sorry if I can respond to that. What Adrian has proposed here, what the staff have developed here as a proposed communication schedule. I think one thing we can do is, if you look at it, the motion in there is a motion the proposed motion is different methods for contacting specialists about these reminders, the fee, the compliance, and then also this quarterly email, just keeping everybody, all specialists, about informing them about different initiatives that might be taking place at the state bar. Keeping contact is really what it's trying to do. One thing that we could do is if the I may suggest is modifying that to also include telephone contact if that's what the group feels that is the best method or the next approach that's required or the missing method out of this process. And then the staff could make a determination on how that will be staffed. But if that's the group's recommendation or sentiment of what's missing in this process, then I'm just proposing that as an idea. And we could worry about the staffing.
So moved.
Is there even a motion on this, Adrian? I didn't see one on this item, but this was kind of more of a report.
Yeah, I think this because this is more of a procedural versus policy. It doesn't require a motion or a decision from the CBLS. I guess, yeah, for a point of clarification for us as staff, I guess what communication method or where, like Amy was saying, like if we added a call, at what point in the schedule are we doing that where I guess it's sufficient or it becomes enough where these are not continually being, I guess, continued for each of these revocation items.
Well, for me, it was that individual email and where I had an email address, I had a 99% success factor in reaching them and finding out, what their issue was, whether they knew or didn't know. Now, there were some folks that didn't have an email address. I didn't spend time to try and track that down to communicate with them. So, maybe for that, there's a letter, but it's got to be some kind of communication that breaks through this. We get so much from the state bar that a lot of times it just washes through us and we don't pay attention to it. This is, the specialists went to extraordinary lengths to become specialized and maintain that. So these are people that we should be keeping in the program because they want to belong, and we just have to figure out the most effective way to reach them. But I like this, and if it takes another person on staff to come on, I think we've got the money to figure it out and how we get there.
Of course, that's something that we can definitely discuss internally as staff. But once again, because that is like a procedural versus policy, that's unfortunately that's not something that the CBLS can decide or create for the program.
We'll take this feedback back and then report back at the next meeting on our process.
And then what I've noted so far is Amy, your introductory email, looking at the website, our mapping, the information that's provided there, see what can be more clear, where we can add links, additional information. And then looking at the agency billing process, the instructions, making sure that part is clear for those administrators. And then I think Jeff had mentioned the letters with invoices. I don't know how, we'd have to look into that to see if that's a capability that we would have on our end. So I did make note of that as well. So any other immediate thoughts or concerns or?
Well, I'm glad we're trying to solve a problem.
Additional staffing to make phone calls. Conversations with IT to discuss how to have state bar emails go through a spam filter somehow. Maybe there's some, not doing mass emails, but having individual emails.
What about a read receipt?
I think for the individual emails, unfortunately, our email system, let's say if I wanted to send out 25 individual emails with it, they all have the same subject line, same body, but they're going to 25 individual recipients. It'll start to catch the latter ones as spam and it won't send them, which is why we have to have a specific email, like a specific email client for those mass reminders.
So fix that is what I'm saying. Like, all of these, there's people who are way smarter than all of us who understand how to fix that. So we have millions of dollars. We could hire a company to fix that. They'll probably charge us $1,000. We can get some high school student to work full time for $20 an hour with 2 weeks of vacation.
I think
we pay them $41,000 a year, and you have somebody who's dedicated that this is their job.
We'll take that under consideration, but if okay, I wanted to ask, is it appropriate or okay to ask, Avi and Mark, you both said that last time, like the calls or your individual emails, maybe whenever we do the 60-day late reminders specific to the recertification, we can also do it for the LSCLE, the annual fee, but we share those lists with the CBLS members. Staff will take some. We can call, but also getting the support from the CBLS in dividing up the amount. I think the volume at times can just be so high. I don't think it'd be feasible working.
I think you guys can do it, and if you can't, you guys need to hire somebody who can do it.
And Adrian, we could talk about that internally. I think one of the things that's beneficial from this group, though, is the feedback that we've already been getting. I think, for you to be like a sounding board on, the feedback of what's effective and what's not, like such as the information you've shared so far about which specialists we're not successfully communicating with. I think we definitely need to rely on this group to do that. And we in no way are suggesting that this is that your function is to create this contact, but we would definitely need to know in the instances when we're not successful with that. We will rely on this team to help us, gauge that. But we'll work on a communication plan internally and report back on what that is for the next meeting. So, yeah, we could go back to the compliance item. I'm sorry, I shouldn't say that, Mark, that's your determination. But I guess what I'm suggesting here is that we have some work to do in terms of mapping what our next steps are in terms of the communication. And I just wanted to clarify that no way are we suggesting that this is a function that you carry out. But in terms of getting feedback on how we're carrying out that function is definitely something that we'd like to rely on this team about. So when we talk about it next time, any information that you might have that will lead to a better and stronger, improved communication process is going to be very, we'll be grateful for. So more to come on this.
Okay. So I guess that means we then move back up to item D, Adrian. If
there's no further comments or questions or suggestions.
Well, I think we'll all be interested to see what you come back with at the next meeting on I and how this develops.
You got it.
Also, when we come back at the next meeting about this, can we actually have things that not just like discussion, but like things that we're going to vote on, things that are going to change immediately? I'm getting a little frustrated with the bureaucracy of it and the red tape, and it's just a lot of talking about it. For example, and I know that we don't vote because we're part of the program, but like the spend down I mean, we've been talking about that for a year. So it's like, let's get the show on the road. There's a lot of people that are running this program, and I just kind of, I want to move forward. Listen, I'm probably on this board for another year or whatever, and all you guys and most of the staff is staying. But I think at least the contribution that I can make while I'm still on it is, let's put a fire to get some of this stuff done. I think enough talking about it. We've talked about it. Let's do it. And I'm not like trying to blame anybody or fault anybody or anything like that, but it's just, you know, I'm sitting at these meetings for 2 years now, and this communication issue has been an issue since I've been on this board, and probably before. The spend down, I mean, the millions of dollars that is doing nothing, just sitting there collecting interest, very probably minimal interest. We got to do something about that already. So the more I see that we're just talking and talking and talking, I think, you know, I'm glad these things are being recorded, because anybody who is listening to this meeting and to the recording of the meeting should know that the members of the board of CBLS want there to be movement with these things. So I don't know if it's a problem with, well, we got to talk and we're going to take all your information and then we're going to talk to people that are really not going to do anything about it. Are the people who are going to do anything about this on this call? If not, we need those people here.
Yeah, Avi, I will take that. I mean, I hear your frustration, certainly. There are, and yes, we are the right people who can make changes. We're not having you talk to a hole in the wall. Whether we're talking about Amy or Adrian or Janice, we've got the people who can make the appropriate changes. We've heard your feedback. We will take that back and figure out what the most appropriate steps are. There are things that we need to think about in terms of, and because I know, for example, you're talking about the sort of 3 different pieces here, right? The the certification fee for the legal specialization. You're also talking about the annual licensing fees that everybody pays. And we are not, for example, likely to make changes for how the notification for annual licensing fees goes just for legal specialists. And we have adopted a process where that is done for everybody. Notification via email. People who don't have an email can request. There's a process for them to request that things be sent hard copy, but otherwise we do not send annual license fee bills by hard copy. So treating that sort of potentially differently than treating other issues that are unique to legal specialists. And so Amy and the team and I will go back and take a look at those 3 things individually and figure out what changes realistically and appropriately can be made. As Amy said, any of the confusing language on agency billing is something that we will absolutely have changed. Having you point that out was very helpful for us. We are not going to commit in this meeting that we will hire a high school student, hire a permanent staff. Like, we're not going to commit to how we will be able to accomplish these changes, but we certainly hear the frustration. And we'll review the processes once again. And as Amy said, we'll give you a full report back on everything that has been changed or is going to be changed or can't be changed going forward.
Okay, well, thank you, Donna. We'll look for that input. Should should we go back to item D just to move this forward, Adrian? I think where we left off, and that's the revocations for failure to pay the program fee. It does call for a vote.
We were on sorry, Mark, we were on 4D, the revocations for failure.
4D, right. And so it does call for a motion and a vote. So the motion would be to move that those certified specialists on attachment A are revoked and notified for failure to recertify. Is there anybody to move that?
I think this is Natalie. I think in light of the ongoing issues with reaching these folks, we need to table it yet again. And I would move that we not approve the certification revocations for failure to recertify at this time.
Is there a second to that modified motion?
Second.
Avi seconds. Adrian, would you take roll call on the modified motion?
I just want to make sure I got it.
Right. I think it'd just be to table this motion to the next meeting.
All right, I'll get on this better. Oh.
And while he's doing that, the attorney that hadn't paid from the DA's office emailed me back that he got a call back from the state bar and he's paid it. So one of the people on the list will now be taken off just from that one email.
And then, thank you, Jeff. Natalie, if it's okay, if I can just have you read, make sure I got it right, and then state it one more time just for the recording.
All right.
Okay, I vote that we table the approval of certification revocations for failure to recertify and continue it to the next CBLS meeting.
Okay. That's a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, Avi seconds it. Adrian, if you would take roll, please.
Of course.
Hold on.
Excuse me.
That's not what the screen says.
Move that those failure to recertify are continued to the next CBLS meeting.
That makes no sense.
All right. Oops.
So it should state that we move that we table the vote on approval of certification revocations for failure to recertify and continue it to the next meeting.
The motion.
Is this right? It's okay.
What, because what the motion that was before us is to move that those certified specialists listed on attachment 8 are revoked and notified of the failure. We want to table that motion. Table that motion until the next CBLS meeting. Is that right, Natalie?
That's correct.
What about if you say that we're tabling item 4D until the next meeting, just for simplicity's sake?
That would work for me too. Natalie, is that consistent with your amendment?
That's fine.
And aren't we gonna do the same thing with the others? So could we do that?
I would imagine that we're going to have identical motions, but we're going to take them one at a time.
Okay.
So the modified motion is now that we move that this item 4D on our agenda today is tabled and continued to the next CBLS meeting. As that modified motion, do we have a second? Avi seconds it.
Yeah.
Adrian, if you would take roll, please.
Of course. Acosta,
Yes.
Hammerschmidt,
Yes.
Lester,
Yes.
Levy,
Yes, and sorry you guys if I woke up on the wrong side of the bed. It's nothing personal.
thanks, Avi. Vance,
Yes.
that's enough. The modified motion is approved.
And just to interject, I'm just passionate, which I think is a good thing. So sorry, guys.
I totally appreciate the passion, Avi, and it's well directed. All righty, so let's move to item E, which is the approval of annual recertification revocations for failure to pay the 2021 legal specialization program fee. Janice, welcome.
Yes, thank you. So the legal specialization program is entirely self-funded. Specialists are required to pay the legal specialization annual fee every year, which is due at the same time as their general license fees. These fees were originally due on February 1st, and any specialist pending a fee had a final deadline of July 1st. The table in the agenda item provides a breakdown of specialists by specialty area. The attachment lists specific specialists and individuals. Reminders have been sent electronically through the State Bar's email system, and since the last meeting, staff has sent a physical letter, electronic letter, and called each pending specialist. There are now 29 specialists with a balance pending from 2021. That is down from 110 from the last meeting. This is consistent with past action to send notice of revocation. In 2020, it went from 67 to only 15 recommended. In 2019, 52 were recommended. And in 2018, 31 were recommended. If approved, staff will send final paper notice and electronic notice through State Bar email service that revocation is final if payment is not received in 30 days of letter. Thank you.
So if I note, the difference with this one is that staff has actually reached out and called each of these pending specialists before the revocation is, their revocation has been put on this list. Do I have that right?
Yeah,
That's correct.
Okay. So the motion,
Sorry, Mark, just to add to that, before we make a motion, I feel like this is different. This one you guys did call. This one, most of the time you pay it at the same time you pay your bar dues. So, I mean, from my understanding, right? So it's like, all right, well, this is different. This is, now you're not even paying into the program. So that's a problem. So I think just like, so I think this category of people are a little bit different than the ones in the other categories. And so those are my comments before any motion is made.
and just to add in, Avi, I agree. That's why I called it out. This one seems much more complete on communications. And the one before, we didn't have the comfort that the completion of communication had been successfully done. So the motion before us this time would be to move that those certified specialists listed on attachment A are revoked for failure to pay the 2021 legal specialization annual dues. Is there somebody to make that motion?
Second.
Made by Avi, seconded by Norma. Adrian, if you would call the vote, please.
Of course. Acosta,
Yes.
Hammerschmidt. Hammerschmidt? Is he still here? Let me just double.
He's on mute.
One more time.
There you
please.
go.
My vote was no.
Thank you. Lester,
Aye.
Levy.
Yes.
I'm sorry, I didn't. Sorry, Avi, I didn't.
Yes.
Thank you. Vance.
Yes.
That's enough votes. This motion passes.
Okay, the next item is number F on our agenda. That's going to be the approval of the annual certification revocations for failure to report Group 2 2021 Legal Specialist Continuing Legal Education Compliance. For this, we'd look to Latrell, please.
Specialists are required to report compliance of 36 hours of LSCLE in their specialty area every 3 years, which is due at the same time as their general MCLE compliance. This was originally due February 1st, and any specialist pending MCLE/LSCLE had a final deadline of June 30th. The table in the agenda item provides a breakdown of specialists by specialty area, and the attachment lists specific specialists/individuals. Reminders have been sent electronically through the State Bar's email system, and since the last meeting, we as staff have sent a physical letter, electronic letter, and called each pending specialist. 119 specialists pending. There are now 119 specialists pending 2021 LSCLE compliance, which is down from 457 at the last meeting. Consistent with past action to send notice of revocation in 2020 from 544 to 94 recommended, 2019, 107 were recommended, and in 2018, 37 were recommended. Staff will send final paper and electronic notice through State Bar email service that revocation is final if LSCLE is not received in 30 days of letter.
Okay. I note that we've made the reference that allegedly phone calls have been made as well on this group. Is that right, Latrell?
Yes.
You know, I happen to know, of course, a couple of the names on the estate planning folks, which much like we went through with Avi on the other item D, Mr. Haley, Mr. Hummel, Horspool, these are people that are prominent in my area. There's no reason that they would let their certification lapse. This one falls closer to the prior one because they've probably been paying their dues. Joseph McCongle, I know him as a legal malpractice guy. He, you know, very prominent in the community and holds out his legal malpractice certification. I'm concerned that this one kind of falls into the same bucket as item D as opposed to E that we're just on.
So I have a question, if you're done, Mark.
Yeah.
So it gives me comfort that these people were given phone calls. My question, I guess, is in terms of reporting their compliance, are these, so you report your compliance at the same time you're reporting your State Bar compliance, or is it like, is it multiple forms? Because even I'm confused about that, meaning, because I think the last time I reported my compliance, I'm reporting my State Bar compliance, and then I have to do something separate to report the specialization compliance. And so I think there's some, if that's the case, I also was confused because I thought I've already done that when I'm reporting my State Bar compliance. Because to be honest, it's the same courses. You know, not every course, but most of the courses I take for my CLE are also satisfying the specialization credit. So to me, it's kind of like one and the same. And maybe when people are like, oh, here's my 3-year compliance deadline, I'm gonna fill in the state bar thing, they might not know that they now have to do something separate for the specialization program, because I don't think I would know that unless I was on the board, which I am, and know that there's this issue here, that there's, now you got to go to somewhere else to report the same exact stuff that you just reported, that the state bar is requiring you to do, and it's super easy and straightforward, and you have to do it in order to move on to the next step so you can have your bar license. So those, I guess, they're more questions and based on the answers to those questions kind of would inform me how I would vote on the motion.
And I would add that while we're doing this, I received another email from the prosecutor who said he did receive a letter stating he was in non-compliance, but it didn't say why. It listed the reasons why. So apparently he was supposed to guess that he hadn't paid. And it didn't say it said how to withdraw, but it didn't say provide any information on how to regain compliance, which he found out today was failure to pay dues.
Sure.
So that's, to me, that's a problem. That take a guess at what you're doing wrong and fix it.
And Jeff, if it's okay, I have a copy of those letters that we sent out. It does actually say specifically what it was. It was in the second paragraph immediately following that list of the general requirements.
Okay.
We did talk internally about where to place the immediate requirement. So we did, and we will be modifying those reminder templates to make it more clear of what is being requested at that time. And then Avi, to your point, you're right. So I think one of the main reasons why it did go down from 450 from the last meeting is there was a little bit of confusion. So reporting general MCLE and LSCLE, they are reported separately. Reporting one does not affect the other. And that was a big point of confusion. So we'll take a look again at our information. We do have an informational letter available on the State Bar website. Maybe we can look at where it needs to get posted, or maybe even adding that point of information into our reminders that they are done separately.
Is there a way to put within the general reporting for MCLE one saying you are a certified specialist, click here, and maybe that takes you to the reporting, or something that says if you're a certified specialist, you should go to this website to report? Because if there doesn't seem to be an issue with the general reporting, maybe having some sort of reminder within that general reporting, letting the person know if you're a certified specialist, either click here or go to this website, because you're not going to be compliant with just doing this. I mean, is there something that can be added in the general one so that there's that reminder? Because it doesn't seem to be an issue with the general reporting so much as with the legal specialization.
That's a great suggestion, and we'll take a look at that. But that seems like a really clear way to inform folks that there's another step that they need to take if they are a specialist. So we'll figure out how to make something like that happen.
And to have it go both ways. So if they went to legal specialization first, here's a link. Don't forget, you got to go do your regular.
Mhm.
So
Bold, all caps, underline, asterisk. Yeah.
lots of yelling. Okay. Well, the actual motion on this one is, come on, Adrian, put it up on the screen. The motion that's in our agenda would be to move that those certified specialists listed on attachment A are revoked and notified for failure to comply with the LSCLE requirement. Is this one where we want to treat this item similar to what we did in D and table it to the next meeting?
I would not vote. I would not move to table it. And I think what's swayed me is the phone calls that were made. So I would actually move in support of the motion listed on the screen, which is that the certified specialists listed on attachment A are revoked and notified for failure to comply with the LSCLE requirement.
Okay, so moved by Avi. Is there a second? Hearing no second, I think by Robert's Rules of Order, don't we just have to table it to the next one? Nobody's,
Fails.
Yeah, the motion would die for lack of a second.
okay. So one more time for a second. Hearing none, the motion dies for lack of a second. Let's move on to item G then, which is the update on the CBLS 2021 work plan initiatives and approval of the 2022 work plan. For this item, we look to Anna.
Hello, everyone. So the first thing that was on our 2021 work plan initiatives is that we will continue to apply guidelines when evaluating proposals for new specialty areas. During our September meeting, the CBLS reviewed a proposal for the new state bar specialty area in privacy law.
Yep.
I'm sorry?
I think actually you're just reading a little too fast. If you can slow down just a hair.
Sorry about that. During our September meeting, the CBLS reviewed a proposal for the new state bar specialty area in privacy law. We will revisit this discussion as part of open session item 4H. Next, we hoped to procure an exam item banking solution to increase exam security and efficiency. Since then, staff has been successful to contract a provider for the item banking solution. We will be providing further updates as part of closed session item 2B. Staff has also been working on a procedure to enforce the removal of certified specialist designations. With guidance from our Office of Chief Trial Counsel, we've created a template for staff to send to licensees who need to remove their designations. Although the Office of Chief Trial Counsel was unsure of clear penalties or discipline, they can open an investigation to consider whether the attorney engaged in misconduct that warrants discipline. As of now, our current template has proved to be effective in having licensees remove their designations after the first request. Pending further research, we hope to draft a possible enforcement policy. Next on our work plan was to establish a contingency plan to administer the 2021 legal specialist exam remotely, similar to the recent bar exams and first-year law student exams. The first remote administration of the legal specialist exam was held on October 26th, as provided in the update as part of open session item 4C. Lastly, in our 2021 work plan was to venture marketing opportunities to educate the public about the program and encourage program participation. Staff attended both ABA specialization roundtable discussions held this year. Also, Mark has accepted an opportunity to sit on their marketing subcommittee. Now, for the 2022 work plan changes, we will continue to work and research into privacy law as a potential new specialty area. We will build, implement, and train on the new item banking solution. We'll research the impact of remote legal specialist examination. We'll evaluate legal specialization processes to ensure all are supported by SMEs, and we will monitor the budget and reserve balance. Please note that the 2022 changes are based on the 2017 to 2022 State Bar Strategic Plan, which is expected to be updated by the BOT in January. We may need to call for a special meeting to approve any substantive changes. And this concludes our 2021 to 2022 work plan initiatives.
Is this where you want me to update on the ABA marketing subcommittee, Adrian?
Please, if you do have an update.
So I did attend a meeting earlier this week with the ABA group, and this is across the nation with programs in states that have specialization programs. all of whom are having some issues as to how do they effectively reach out, communicate with attorneys in encouraging them to join, become legal specialists, and then among the legal specialists themselves and their issues and stuff. It's actually a really good crew. I'm looking forward to the next meeting. There'll probably be more to report in, and I will be happy to share the notes and the minutes from that. I think we're going to get some good ideas for marketing, and this may be someplace where if we can use some of our spend down, we may want to help them with their efforts because there's no independent funding for this, and we may get some really great ideas out of it. Okay. With that in mind, the two motions for consideration. First is move that the California Board of Legal Specialization approves recommending to the Executive Committee of the State Bar Board of Trustees the proposed 2022 work plan as set forth in attachment C. Do I take these together or as one, Adrian? Or just individually, or it's one?
If okay, let's take them individually.
Okay. So do I have a anybody to move that first motion?
So moved.
Moved by Acosta. A
I'll
second.
second.
Second by Vance. Adrian, if you would take the roll call, please.
Of course. Acosta,
Yes.
Hammerschmidt,
Yes.
Lester,
Yes.
Levy, I think you're muted, Avi. I'm gonna
Yeah.
one more time for Levy. Vance,
Yes.
that's enough votes. That first motion passes.
All right. And then the second motion for our consideration is to further move that staff will bring the work plan back to the California Board of Legal Specialization for substantive updates needed to ensure alignment with the State Bar strategic plan to be adopted in 2022. Anybody to move that?
So moved.
Moved by Hammerschmidt. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Acosta. Adrian, if you'd please take a roll.
Of course. Acosta,
Yes.
Hammerschmidt,
Yes.
Lester,
Yes.
Levy, I think I saw you unmute, Levy, but I didn't hear it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you. Vance,
Yes.
that's enough votes. The second motion passes as well.
Okay, great. So next up on our agenda is item H, and that's the review of request to delegate authority to CBLS chair to appoint new specialty area consulting groups. Adrian.
So at the September meeting, the CBLS, they did vote to recommend the Board of Trustees continue research into privacy law by creating and appointing privacy law consulting group. To streamline this process, staff proposed adding to that recommendation to the board that the board also delegate the authority to the CBLS chair and vice chair to appoint members to the consulting group. If approved, the CBLS officers would review applications in consultation with the Board of Trustees appointment liaisons. This would also mirror similar processes for other state bar sub-entities and their respective subcommittee appointments. The CBE chair, he does appoint members to the CS bars. Anyone have any questions on this item?
Okay, so the motion here would be to move that in connection with the recommendation that the Board of Trustees approve the creation of a specialty area consulting group in the area of privacy law. CBLS recommends that the Board of Trustees delegates to the chair and vice chair of the California Board of Legal Specialization, chair and vice chair authority to appoint the members of the consulting group. Do we have anybody to make that motion?
I will make that motion.
Second.
Moved by Vance, seconded by Levy. Adrian, if you would take a roll call, please.
Of course. Acosta,
Yes.
Hammerschmidt,
Yes.
Lester,
Yes?
Levy,
Yeah.
Vance.
Yes.
That's enough votes. This motion passes.
Okay. We get down to now item J on our agenda here. The final review of the 2021 legal specialization budget reserve spend down initiatives. Adrian, this is to you. And of course, all of us who are here don't get to vote. Talk to us.
Sure. As Mark kind of touched on it, as a reminder, specialists on the CBLS, they're not able to participate in discussion of specific package of recommended options or any specific amounts for a spend down. Since Jake, he's the only eligible member to discuss and vote on any spend down plan. Staff, we do have a specific recommendation to delegate authority to Jake, the ability to work with staff and decide if a spend down plan, an updated spend down plan, can be transmitted to the Board of Trustees. Maybe just for some quick background, following the July CBLS meeting, staff, we have continued research into the Legal Specialization Reserve Fund. The State Bar's reserve policy requires a minimum target reserve of 2 months of operating expenses, which equals about 17% for each fund, and requires a spend down plan when the reserves remain greater than 30% for longer than 6 consecutive months. Currently, our fund is budgeted to be at 192.6% of reserve by the end of this year. The Legal Specialization Fund net balance as of December 31st of 2020, it was just over 5.6 million. For this year, we are budgeted for a net balance of 5.2 million. Our budgeted expenses this year were 2.7 million, so our minimum target reserve balance would be 459,000 with a maximum reserve balance of 810,000. So to comply with the reserve policy, a spend down of approximately 4.4 million is required to reduce the fund reserves to the maximum target reserve balance. So once again, staff, we are recommending that the CBLS delegates to public member Jake Yoon authority to review with staff and determine if an updated reserve spend down plan can be transmitted to the Board of Trustees for final approval.
So as I understand it, we can vote on this motion. We just can't vote on the actual spend down or participate, right?
Correct, because there's no amounts or options as part of this.
Right, and,
All right.
and if Jake were able to be here, we could have had him vote today on the proposal. Because he's not, we don't want to waste your time and call back another special meeting of the full committee.
Okay. Do we have anyone to make this motion?
This is Natalie. I will move that the CBLS delegates public member Jake Yoon authority to review with staff and determine if an updated reserve spend down plan can be transmitted to the Board of Trustees for final approval.
And I second.
Okay, Adrian, if you'd call the vote.
Of course. Acosta,
Yes.
Hammerschmidt,
Yes.
Lester,
Yes.
Levy,
Dane.
Vance.
Yes.
That is enough votes. This motion passes.
Okay, and with that, we are at the end of open session. We're going to move over to closed session. It is 11:44. We've been going strong for an hour and 45 minutes. Closed session is pretty short. Do you want to take a 5-minute break, or do you want to just power through?
I'll leave it to the other.
Does that looks like obviously power through?
Power through.
All right, we'll get it done. Let's everybody shift on over to your closed, and we'll see you there.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Go ahead.
Great, we've now finished our closed session and we're back into open session. I want to thank all of our members, the public who have attended. We can now adjourn the meeting. It doesn't require a vote. We will see everybody at our next planned meeting in March. Thank you and happy holidays, one and all.
Thank you.
Thanks. Happy holidays.
Thanks,
Thank
everyone.
you.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Hi, everyone.